Estongo, and welcome to Unequal Temperament. I am your host, Tim Long, and you've just heard the incredible Martha Redbone singing Medicine Man. I love Martha Redbone, so please check her out on Spotify, on iTunes, LPs, or wherever you look for your recordings. I want to invite you all to subscribe to this podcast. We're doing a live stream right now, but it does turn into a podcast through the Foundry Arts, and you can find this subscription wherever you look for your podcasts. And it helps us out a lot for the subscriptions to happen. And if you can't happen to watch this entire show, you can listen back later at your leisure. Another thing we're doing on this show is we're inviting audience questions. And we have a section later in the show where you can say hi right now. Email us, say hello. You will see a scrolling, there it is, address at the bottom of the screen. Emily.aka@thefoundryarts.com. You can say hello. You can ask a question that will be read on the air, or you can tell us what your favorite cocktail or your favorite TV shows are. And along those lines, my guests and I are going to be having a little cocktail. So please get one ready if you want. I'm having a nice white wine. And if you don't drink, get a nice kombucha, get a nice coffee, and relax and listen with us. So what's happened since our last podcast? That was December 17th? I guess a few things have happened. I had a birthday, for one. I had a birthday and I took it off of Facebook to see what it was like, and it was good. So I had a birthday and I bought my first electric blanket, and my husband says it feels like we're in a hospital. So I hook up my blanket and we watch TV and all this, but it feels great. Other things that have happened: an attempted coup on our nation's capital. That was fun. We had an inauguration, thank God. The vaccines coming out. I know people who have had a vaccine, but they don't have the second one yet. So I'm waiting. I'm in 1B, and I'm waiting to get an appointment, which I can't quite get yet, but I'm happy to get that vaccine whenever it happens, because as we saw in the New York Times last week, the Native American death rate is twice that of white people. And I don't know if that's socioeconomic. I don't know if there's something genetic that makes us predisposed, but I'm playing it safe. Because I'm getting old and I need to watch my health. Other things that have happened, I just jot things down because I like lists. Here are some interesting things that have happened. In Oklahoma, my home state, a state representative is trying to get an official Bigfoot hunting season on the docket. Yeah, I'm from southeastern Oklahoma, and actually that is where they find Bigfoot. So that explains me a little bit. And they are actually trying to get a Bigfoot hunting season happening. I may go down for that. The great actor Dustin Diamond is dealing with cancer. Actually, he's from Saved by the Bell, Screech, but I love Saved by the Bell. Amanda Gorman. Did you guys check that out? Oh my gosh. The young poet who read at the inauguration, you could see her becoming a star as she read that poetry. It was so powerful. She's already a bestseller. Her books don't come out until September, and she's number 1 and 2 on the Amazon bestseller lists. What else has happened? Oh, just a few things. My favorite shows right now, because I like watching shows, are Arrow, Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez. I love serial killers. And I kind of feel sorry for them, although they did bad things. And The Restaurant, which is a great Swedish show. Here's another thing that you guys can do, because for most of us, there are happier days ahead right now. We can breathe a sigh of relief, unless QAnon's exactly correct and we're all going down. But we're all going down anyway. Here's what you can do to make yourself happy. And I do this and I weep. Go to YouTube, my favorite place, my best friend, and look up Enchroma glasses. This is one of my favorite things to do. You look up colorblind people trying out their Enchroma glasses for the first time, and they see colors for the first time, and they're all weeping and stuff, and I'm sitting there with my wine weeping too. So do that if you ever need to be lifted up, Enchroma glasses, and then you can watch deaf people hearing for the first time and all that stuff. It's really wonderful. Going on though, our guest today, I'm really excited about our guest today. He's been a friend of mine for well over 20 years, and this is the Lebanese-American tenor, Karim Sulayman, and I'm just going to give you a few snippets of his bio. He won the 2019 Best Classical Solo Vocal Grammy Award for his CD, Where Only Stars Can Hear Us. He's sung at New York City Opera. He's sung with Chicago, Pittsburgh, and National Symphonies. He's been to Marlborough several times. Karim also, he's done these wonderful things that we don't know about in music all the time. He did a social experiment performance art piece called I Trust You, which is incredible. It went viral and it won an award at the My Hero Film Festival. What else have you done, Karim? Oh my God. He's been on the second season of the acclaimed series Dickinson on Apple TV. Who knew? I didn't know these things. And in addition, he has studied improvisation at the Second City Training Center in Chicago. Welcome, Karim.
Thank you, Tim. I have to correct you. I have to correct you. I won the Grammy for my first CD, Songs of Orpheus. You mentioned Where Only Stars Can Hear Us, which is my second CD, which came out this year, or I guess last year. But yeah, so I just wanted to correct you there so that your like audience.
I'm sorry I mentioned it at all, Karim.
I know. I'm sorry. I would urge your audience to check out both CDs.
I would urge them to, and I will keep urging them to do that. But before we go on any further, one thing that we're doing on Unequal Temperament, and I urge all the viewers to start doing this as well, start looking into this. We're doing land acknowledgements. And if you don't know the original inhabitants of your land, get the Native Land app. It's free, and you turn on notifications, and it will tell you the tribes that were originally there wherever you stand in the United States. So I would like to acknowledge that I am in Rochester, New York, on the unceded territories of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and I would like to give them thanks, Mado, for allowing us to be here and to live our lives while acknowledging theirs. And Karim, where are you?
I am in Chicago, Illinois, on the land of the Potawatomi, Kickapoo, Miami, and Peoria nations. And I too would like to thank them and honor them for taking care of this place that I've called home. I grew up here. I moved away for a long time, but I'm calling it home again. And they gave my parents this place to take refuge from the war in Lebanon. So I have to thank them for that as well.
And I'm so thrilled that there's some kind of acknowledgement happening, however little it is, with Native Americans, because what it does, it turns American history upside down from the way we've been taught. And I think there's a long road in people accepting this sort of guilt with how we were founded, but you cannot heal until you go through these sort of wounds and really look at them and see how to treat them best. So in addition to the land acknowledgement, cheers to a new administration, Karim.
Cheers. We did it.
It's good to see you. You and I did it. Yes, we did it. And again, I'd like to tell our viewers, to submit questions if you want. And we'll be taking those questions up until our producer comes on and we talk about them. So I have a billion questions and no questions at the same time. So here's my first question. And what I love about you, Karim, is that you're sort of like me. You'll talk about anything. It's like there's nothing off limits, and I think we will probably just like push each other to the edge. Okay, here, because a lot of people don't know this, nor do I. How does one go about winning a Grammy?
Oh, I have no idea. Like,
you did it.
I did it, but I really don't know because I didn't have any PR or anything like that. And I also, I did everything. Like it was, I had gotten to a point in my career where it's like, I'm just showing up for gigs and doing what I'm told. And I've never really embraced that part of this career. Like I've always felt like I wanted more ownership of what I do. And more acknowledgement of the fact that like I own what I do. My interpretations are mine. My music making is mine. It's not the conductor's. It's a collaboration, but like I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but it's like I don't know that when I'm up on stage, I'm doing it, right? And oftentimes that's taken away from us, especially as singers. We're sort of trained to like sort of blush and just kind of take abuse or whatever. But so I started to get a little bit sick of that. And so I wanted to like I wanted to start taking ownership of my career. And so I knew that I wanted to make solo albums. And I knew that the first one that I wanted to do was one of 17th century Italian music, because I love that music and I excel at that music. And so I programmed it all. I raised almost all the money for it myself. And I just kind of like made it happen. And I think like, because it was such a labor of love and such a work of art from, I don't, it sounds so Pollyanna when I say it, but because it was such a, like, it had so much integrity in the way that I created it, I think it caught fire, and it caught, like, people caught wind of it, and it just sort of like grew from there. And I had some, I had like an entrepreneurial sense about it. Like, I was going on tour with the orchestra to do Monteverdi's Orfeo. So I knew if I released my first album while I was doing this role that I knew that I excelled in, people would buy it. And so I sort of got on the charts immediately because I released in that week that I was touring the country in this leading role, and people just bought my album. So that was sort of how it started. And then I don't really know how the Grammy thing happened, but it did, and I'm very happy that it did. And I was nominated, like, my year, there were like incredible people I was nominated with. So, I was like the dark horse, kind of like underdog guy, but
so
there we go.
Think what people aren't aware of is that a lot of artists, and this is just a part of the business, there's a whole campaign towards getting nominated for a Grammy. Then there's a campaign about getting the votes for the Grammy. Were you aware of that at that point? And is this something that ever came to play?
I only became aware of it after the fact, that it was something that people did. And because I didn't release this album to win a Grammy, and so I didn't, and I also didn't think like, I didn't think it could, just like logistically, I didn't think that it could. And so, I only found out about the process after I was apparently part of the process, not the campaigning process, but like after my name got started to get thrown into the mix. And then when the nominations came out, I was like, holy shit, that's amazing.
But you must have known that your name was in the mix, yes, at some point?
I only knew that, our label had submitted the title, as they submit all their titles, for the appropriate categories. And then, so I knew that I was on the long list, but I didn't know I was on the short list. And I didn't know, you never know when you're on the short list, apparently. That's like that becomes a very private discussion with the committees or whatever. But then the nominations come out, and then it becomes a free for all. And like, all I did was like send emails to people and say like, hey, I got nominated. If you know people who vote, send them my CDs or my album. I guess we don't say CDs anymore, but send them my album. And then lo and behold, it happened.
What did you think when you were at the ceremony? I mean, did you have hope, or were you trying to tell yourself, don't get worked up and have a cocktail?
I got like that butterfly fluttery kind of feeling when the classical categories started. I started to get a little bit of a butterfly, but like, I was only there to go to the party, to walk the red carpet. That's like what I like had a jacket made in a silhouette, in a 17th century Italian silhouette. I was like going to finish the story, and like just kind of, it was so cool that I could even go. And that, so I just decided I would go. I took my parents, and
That's great.
We were just going to like have like a nice time. And then, they called my name, and I couldn't believe it. I don't even remember what I said when I went to the stage. Like I
watched it last night.
It was crazy.
Great. I loved it. You're running down the aisle and everything. No, seriously, I've seen it before, but I've known you since before you were ever working. So there's something about that, because middle of my life, maybe I'm in the last part of my life, who knows,
Oh
to
God.
see somebody that I knew as a baby running up there to get a Grammy after all this work he's done. I was so proud of you. And seriously,
Thank you.
I weep rewatching it. See how sweet I am,
Oh,
Karim?
thanks. You are
I weep
sweet.
for
I take
you.
it all back. Thank you. Yeah, it was I'm not gonna lie, it was super exciting and like really, what I think is so great about the whole thing is that I tell, like, when I talk to student groups now, I always bring this up, is that, the whole point of making the album was for me to like start to take ownership of what I do and really, really put out to the world what I believe is my authentic self as an artist. And it clearly resonated with people. And what the voters didn't know, what most people don't know, is that I did it all myself. And that, I was at the helm of that. And I think it's just a really amazing lesson for artists in general, for people in general, to like just stick with what you believe in is your strengths and your things that you do well and that you do well, and find those things and just do them, because there's always an audience for you. And it doesn't mean you're going to win a Grammy. It doesn't mean you're going to, stand on the Met stage or anything like that. But it means that you're doing something that ends up meaning something to other people. And that's why we do what we do, I think.
It's true. You were talking about finding your true authentic self. And that's something, people talk about a lot. It's so hard to define that, though. And it's so personal.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I don't know, for me, we've talked about this before, but music to me is like religion. I'm devoted to it. And, when people talk about religion, it can be a very personal conversation. So I find that finding your true artistic self has to do with perseverance, first of all, because as we both know, the majority of people who study music don't go into it.
Yeah.
They either decide very early on not to do it, or they didn't realize the amount of rejection that we all get, every one of us. They don't imagine all the failures that all of us go through. Every single person who perseveres to this point and beyond has failed. And it feels, it feels fantastic.
I do know. I mean, it's and the failures also, and like all those struggles, they end up making you what you are in the end. I think that they're really, really important. And I think like when I used to get super frustrated in my early 20s when all these people that I was in school with and knew as young artists. Oh my God, what is that? What did you? Oh my God!
Look, there's my head. I'm right there.
That's your second conducting gig. That's so funny.
I mean,
look at how doughy I was. That's so funny.
This is what's so great about us. Honestly, this is before you were doing anything. This was my second conducting gig, and this was one of my great failures that taught me so much, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. People thought I could conduct, and so they give me Stravinsky's The Rake's Progress.
It was The Rake's
Progress. I mean, come on,
Stravinsky
for your second. It is hard. It would still be hard now, but back then, oh my God, it was torture for me. So it feels wonderful. I love conducting now too. You love singing. It's so nice to sort of be at this other point and be meeting up and talking about it together. Here's this other one I have. I don't know who gave me these.
Oh my God, that's incredible! Look at that.
All these babies.
It's amazing. That's when I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I was singing.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was conducting it. I had no idea. But if not for that, there's a shitload I would have never learned.
Oh, I know.
It took me years to become comfortable with it. But when it finally happened,
I think that's really. I mean, like I was about to say, I remember in my 20s being so frustrated seeing what other people were doing and the successes that they were having. And like for some of my friends, it was just seemed to just happen so automatically for them. They were chosen, they were picked out of schools and like went to the best young artist programs, and like they were just like the chosen ones. And a lot of those people aren't singing anymore. And I think either they burn out or they come to a crisis, which we all have professionally at some point or another, and it takes shape in different ways. And when you're at a certain level and you're in that crisis, it's so hard to bounce back from it, I think. And I think, you know, slow and steady wins the race, man. I think that's the real point. Is slow and steady wins the race.
And it's also a gift, though, because if you persevere in the arts, you're forced to look at yourself.
Yeah.
You are, whether you go to therapy or whether you do it on your own, you are forced to look at all of your insecurities, your weaknesses, your jealousies. And I mean, and if you do it in the right way, you become a better person, a more present person, which is
I think so.
Wonderful. They really do go hand in hand, the music and the person. So by the way, my friend Ali says that Karim's quite the hot dish. And somebody named Chris, I don't know if it's my Chris, says, hi, Karim, and he loves the deep V.
Thank you.
People love the chest hair, Karim. So thank you for that. So can you tell me quickly, because you didn't have a typical career trajectory at all.
Mm-hmm. No.
I mean, you're talking about people doing back in the day, there was one way to do it, or at least people thought.
Yeah.
You do your apprentice programs, you get an agent, you do opera. And if it happens to you when you're ready, great. But what you're talking about, sometimes people get their breaks when they're not ready for them. Yeah. And that can be a really difficult thing. So I know you were in you were a child singer, yes?
I was. So I had a very precocious start in life with singing, because I had like this really pretty boy alto voice, and you know, Chicago's not like in a cultural vacuum, and so like I grew up singing in the Chicago Children's Choir, and from there they kind of picked me out to sing solos with the Chicago Symphony and the St. Louis Symphony, and I sang solos with the Lyric Opera of Chicago. And, you know, I was just kind of like doing like that. I was like the big boy alto in the Midwest. And so I had a lot of like really amazing experiences as a kid, you know, and like I sang with George Schulte. That's going to age me a little bit, but
incredible. And Bernstein as well?
No,
Slatkin.
Yeah, Leonard Slatkin. Yeah. And so I had like really incredible experiences. And like one of the gigs that I did with Schulte was Damnation of Faust with Anne-Sophie von Otter, when she was like not yet. I mean, she was a star, but not yet the star, right? And José Van Damme. And like, so I was on stage with these people that were like unbelievable. And I was like a little opera queen kid too, you know? So like, I was just like, I would geek out all the time. I did a Rosenkavalier. I was one of those 4 orphan kids with Anne-Sophie von Otter and Anna Tomova-Sintoff and Kathleen Bell, Moll. And so like, I mean, I just had such amazing experiences as a kid in opera. And so when I got to, and I knew it was what I wanted to do, you know, but my brain was way ahead of my voice and my physical apparatus. And so when I got to school, when I got to conservatory, the Eastman School of Music, where you now teach, I was like very much ahead of the game in every way except vocally. And
did your voice change late, or
my voice changed super late? I was like, I think like late 16 when my voice changed. Wow. So I was only singing. I'm young for my year, and so I got to school as a 17-year-old whose voice had basically just changed. And so
You had just become a man before you went to college.
Not yet a man, not yet a lady.
Well, that could be your autobiography title.
So I got to school with so much experience, but then, the physical part of singing is very real, and you have to catch up, and you have to get in shape, and that wasn't something that my body and my voice, my throat was ready for until much later. So I didn't. It was hard. I don't know if it was crushing, because the thing is that I've always had a very strong sense of self. And even though I was actually quite abused at the Eastman School. And even though I was, say again?
That's what we're known for. Just kidding.
Yeah. But even though I was not, I was not a star at Eastman, right? I was not one of those people that they thought would make anything of myself, I don't think. But I knew I had something. And
you can thank your parents for that.
Yeah, I think so. Because even though they were so confused about what I wanted to do and if I'd ever make money doing it, and they were, they have that refugee immigrant sort of mentality where there's no, you have to become a doctor or a lawyer and you have to make money and all that stuff, that I think that because that confused them, but they still instilled in me they loved me with all their might, and they instilled in me a self-confidence and a self-worth that I think got me through times when I was met with real questioning of that, like at Eastman, when certain people said horrible things about me in positions of power, that for anybody else it would have probably crushed them, but for me it was well, I don't think so. I don't think they're right.
I was going to say, though, your parents, you know how many people did not get what you described?
I know.
Just unconditional love and support. They taught you to be resilient. They taught you that you were worth love no matter what. And many did not get that. I got that from my parents too. So, that is what takes you through hardships, really. So good for them and good for you. You're wonderful. Yeah. So do you mind sharing what you were told at Eastman?
Well, I was told secondhand information. I won't say names, but I got secondhand information from my then pianist, my pianist who would play my lessons and who was scheduled to play my senior recital. This was in my senior year, and one of the voice faculty, who is no longer with us, said, well, it'll be a cold day in hell if Karim Sulayman ever has a career in singing.
Well, I guess it's a cold day in hell.
And while they were deliberating casting for the show, the spring show of my senior year and my last year in conservatory, and it was between me and two other people, and the two other people who were his students got the role, and I did not, because it would be a cold day in hell if I ever had a career as a singer. So whatever. Whatever. Say again.
Well, if you have resilience, it's fine, but it still hurts, and people have said things about all of us. But the fact is, if you're truly making an artistic statement, which you are now, absolutely, then you're not going to please everybody. And that was one of the great things that I discovered after I learned how to conduct and I was starting to get out of my head. I made the realization, which is so obvious, and every conductor will get this, that no matter how well you conduct, the same percentage will hate you and love you, because it's a pastime to not like conductors. And if, as a conductor, you can be okay with that, it's great, because you go into rehearsals not even caring if people like you or not. You're just getting to the truth of what you think the music is, and it releases you like crazy. So I'm so thrilled that I'm at that I've persevered to this point in my life where I don't care what people
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, me
And then you
too.
be true to yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree with you totally. Totally, totally, totally.
so was Kathleen Battle nice to you?
So nice. Oh my God, she was so nice. She
Wasn't
was so nice.
crazy?
And no, I mean, she wasn't. I was not in tune to that energy. Like she didn't say much to me. You know, obviously she had a lot to do that night. But like, every time I saw her backstage, she was so lovely and like very quiet. Not. Oh,
About 10
sorry.
seconds.
I feel like I froze there. My screen froze and
Oh, I
everything.
think we both did.
Okay. All I was saying is that I did not see any of the famed stories of Kathleen Battle. Was not my experience when I shared the stage with her.
You know,
So
I had a session with her in about 1995 at Cami Hall. She was looking for a recital pianist. And so I went in and did a session with her, and I'm so glad it didn't work out because there are all those stories about her stopping pianists in recital and then
oh God.
hitting the piano for the tempo. And then I've even heard one where she stopped, she corrected the pianist with the tempo on hitting the piano, and then the pianist started again, and she looked at the audience and went,
Oh God. That like gives me hives just thinking about it.
awful. But my God, in the 80s, I could not stop listening to her. In this video, if you want to look, it's James Levine coaching Kathleen Battle and Jesse Norman for Ariadne rehearsals, and he's coaching them from the piano. But it's really what he's doing is master manipulation.
Oh
He, he
really?
he talks to her at one point, and he says, "So when we get to this point, do you need extra time here, or should I go on?" And what he's basically saying is, "You're miscounting.
Yeah.
Stop it." But he gives her all of the power. And she's like, "No, I don't need that time." So, and he's like, "Okay, well, therefore, then I will do this, blah, 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 blah." It's really, really interesting to see that.
He spoke her language.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
do that well. Maybe I should work on that. I don't know. But you know, one of the great things was in 2016. And honestly, it's one of my favorite things that I've seen in the last few years is your what you call a social experiment slash performance art piece called "I Trust You." And
Yes.
Rome, I'm wondering, can you show us the media for "I Trust You"? It's just amazing. And this is in New York City, right, in front of Trump
Mhm.
Tower. Look
Yeah,
at
we
that.
did it. I did it in a few different places, but yeah, this is in New York.
For you.
That is amazing. I
And
tell you why it is so powerful is it because it evokes such a mixture of emotions. You know, I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel so exhilarated, I feel proud. There aren't many videos that do that. Most sort of evoke one quality, but it's really incredible. And where else did you do it?
I did it in Chicago and in Houston and in New York. So the first couple times I did it was in Chicago, right after the election, which is where I was at that point. Um, and then I had a friend who took photos of me doing it, and my friend Meredith, who did the video for this in New York. When I was in New York and I said that I was planning on doing it in New York, she was like, I would love to come and film that. And she just stayed with me all day. I think it was out there for like 5 hours that day. And that night, she was so inspired by what had happened that night she made an edit, however many minutes it is, she made that edit. And she was like, I think you should lay down a song, and I think that we should just release this to the world and see what happens. And so we did. And we thought that that would be the best song to do. And so I recorded all 4 voice parts for that song, and we kind of put it out as sort of like a hope to just have, well, it too comes from a very authentic place, like it is stuff that I was feeling and still feel 4 years later, but felt very strongly in 2016 and before, frankly. And, the hope was to just have it be, if I could have a teaching moment for one person that voted for that guy to sort of change, to just sort of flip the script a little bit and have them see something from a different point of view, and have it not be about, I hear this term whataboutism a lot these days. And so have it not be that, and have them just see me as a person asking to have a connection with this other person. And can you connect with me in that way? And if it could just reach one person, I mean, I feel like while I did it on the street, I was reaching a lot of people, and they were really reaching me too. It was a very emotional thing for me. And, but with the video, I just felt like if there could be 1 or 2 people that could like just sort of see things a little bit differently, I feel like we would have done something really great. And then it went viral, and, upworthy.
And what an affirmation that all you have to do is speak truth.
Yeah.
And things happen.
Maybe that's the theme of the night. It's true.
I think so. But for the people listening on the podcast, can you quickly just describe what the piece is?
Yeah, so it was inspired by the likes of Yoko Ono and Marina Abramovich, who did sort of these challenging performance art pieces where they wanted their viewers, I guess, to engage with them in a way that challenged them, and that we think as audience members we're not allowed to do. So it was inspired by that. Sorry.
I've never heard a singer say they're inspired by Marina Abramovich, and I love that.
I mean, she's amazing. So it was inspired by that, and all what I did for this, for people who couldn't see the video, is I blindfolded myself and I stood on a corner outside of the former White House occupants' properties in Chicago and in New York, and this was right after the election in 2016, and stood with a sign that said, "I'm an Arab man and I'm afraid." And I'm afraid, like a lot of people in this country are afraid. And I went through the list of these people that have been demonized by him and by his rhetoric. And would you extend some kind of sign to me to let me know that I'm safe and that I can trust you in my country? I'm American, but yet I don't feel safe here. And I haven't for a long time. I mean, we can get into that for a while later if you want, but it was that where I couldn't see anything, and I took all of my defenses away and was completely vulnerable to people on the street and let them engage with me as they saw fit. And, the lesson you take from it is that there are definitely more good people in this world than bad. There are some people who still engage with me in a way that wasn't becoming of them.
What did they do?
Screamed at me. One person really got aggressive to a point where I started to feel pretty unsafe. And I had people watching me in every place so that I knew that I was safe, but there were some heated things like, if you don't like it here, you can go back to where you came from and all that stuff. And some really nasty stuff can come out of people's mouths when they feel, I can't quite make sense of what they feel, that they feel like this country is being taken away from them with,
they do.
diversification or whatever the word is. And
yes, that is exactly it. But they haven't recognized that yet.
Yeah.
I mean, making America great again. I mean, what is that? Great for them was before, when things were not so great for so many of us and so many of our families,
Yeah.
That is race. Recognizing the foundation of this country is
the original sin. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. So were you scared?
I don't know if scared is you mean in those moments where I was blindfolded and they were yelling at me? I don't know if scared is the right word. I was sad, because I think it affirms why I feel scared in the first place. And then, we see just a couple of weeks ago what happened, and what's been sort of boiling under the surface for so long for so many people, and I don't know what more to say about it. It's sad. It's sad. And I think that was more the overwhelming emotion when it wasn't nice, when I wasn't engaging with people that were like, you are absolutely safe here. I've got you, oh my God, I love what you're doing. And I would have these conversations with people that were so adamant about making sure that, people like me felt okay, and Black people and Jews and immigrants and gay people and trans people, like everybody would feel okay. Like there are more people who feel adamantly about protecting that than don't. And so when you would get those flashes of people that don't believe that made me more sad than anything else.
Yeah, it's a long way to go. But do you get profiled a lot?
Oh yeah. I mean, less so now, but I think it's so funny. I started watching these, after the insurrection, I started watching these like airport videos of these people screaming about being on no-fly lists because they refused to wear masks and because they were part of the insurrection and all that stuff. And I was on a no-fly list for years, and for years, I couldn't check in online, and I would have to show up to the airport 3 hours in advance to clear their list because I was on a no-fly list for no reason other than my name.
Was that because of our Rake's Progress performance?
Yeah, because I was so amazing in it that they just wanted
they didn't want you to get away.
They wanted to stop me everywhere I went.
So, very quick question, because among natives, there's sort of everybody knows who speaks the language fluently. Everybody knows what percentage you are. Is there a hierarchy among Lebanese Americans?
Meaning what? Hierarchy?
Like a hierarchy. Like, are you higher up if you actually come from Lebanon, or if you speak the language fluently, or anything like that? Or is there a color kind of thing?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm not sure. My parents came during the war, and I think like more than anything, my mom was scared out of her mind. So I think her focus, both of their focus, was to kind of assimilate as best as they could, even though they couldn't really assimilate that well with their accents and with their looks and all of that stuff. But I'm not sure. I could ask if there's hierarchy. I know that the rest of the Arab world considers the Lebanese dialect to be like the most like lowbrow of, because we don't speak classical Arabic, we speak Lebanese Arabic and the Levant Arabic, which isn't like the Arabic of Egypt and other nations like Saudi and stuff like that. So they kind of look down on the fact that we don't speak classical Arabic. I know that for sure.
Chris, of course, studied in the Middle East and spoke Arabic, and
yes,
it was crazy. He worked for a firm that represented Gaddafi when he visited the United States.
I remember him saying that. Yeah.
Crazy. He's got a story on the moth, which is really, really fascinating. But time is just passing, and you're not drinking quite enough for some of these questions.
I'm drinking.
So bottoms up, and I think we should do some audience questions. So I wonder if Emily is in the air. Oh, yoo-hoo. Emily, are you around? Oh, look. Yoo-hoo. Magically she appears. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Do you have any questions for us?
Far too many, but yes.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Dude.
Yes, we do. We want to know it all.
Single or taken, yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, here's a good one to start with. Did you meet anyone fun at the Grammys? I mean, other than Kathleen Battle.
Well, she wasn't at the Grammys, but I did meet, the Cecile McLaurin-Salvant presented the classical awards, and so she said my name, which was so freaking cool, right? And I do remember is that I actually wanted to speak with her when I got on stage, and she kind of like very gently took my shoulder and like pushed me towards the mic and was like, the moment to speak to me is not right now. But I was like, I love you so much. I remember saying that to her. So that was cool. The whole day was such a wash. I met some cool people. I can't remember who though, but it was a very, very fun day. Like super fun.
Did you go to good parties?
I went to the after party, which apparently isn't the party. Like you have to get invited to the party, but I wasn't invited to that. But like, I had a great time. Let's just put it that way. I got wasted. The concert was really good. The big ceremony, the televised ceremony was super. J-Lo did a great job. Janelle Monáe did a great job. And I had great seats. It was just so much fun. It was so much fun.
What a night.
Yeah, it was.
And how great that your parents were there with you.
I know. It was so nice. Because I think like with my parents, as I said, they come from a different world. And like, I think my career choice has worried them and confused them a lot. And the Grammy is such an international recognized brand that I think like it resonated with my dad, especially in a way that I think was like, I don't have to worry about my kid anymore, which was
great.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Ma, I made it.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's another question for you. Do you have any tips for people who might want to self-produce their own record or concert?
Yeah, I have lots of tips. I think you hone in, first and foremost, I think you hone in on what you do best and what you want. You have to have a real vision of what you want to express and what you want to do and what you want people to get from it. And with that vision, I think things fall into place. And as long as I'm not lying when I say I really think that the lesson learned from the whole Grammy thing, I don't want to put too much weight onto it, but the lesson that everybody can take from it is that if you have integrity in what you do, nobody can take that away from you. That's like your power. And that's important. That's your square one. That's your jumping off spot, right? And you stay there, you stay with that integrity, and that like takes you through your project. And the other thing is like, you have to be okay with people not necessarily liking it.
That is
Right.
it. That is the number one thing, and you got to be fine with that. And as I said, once you get that, you are so liberated. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But to sum up everything you're saying, all we need to do is be best, right?
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, like, so I got a
A
lot
little
of like
joke, sort of, but
yeah, I got Melania. I got a lot of pushback about my second album being a Schubert album because people were like, there's so many Schubert albums. Why would you do that? And I was like, why wouldn't I do that? Like, I love Schubert. I love him. And I think I have a lot to say because Schubert is for everybody. You know, Schubert was done in people's living rooms. And so like, why wouldn't I do something like that? And my second album got better critical acclaim than the first one, you know? So it's like, you know, like, why not do what you love the most? Because if that's the thing, like, again, it's the theme of the day, but it's like, if it comes from this authentic place, nobody can take that away from you.
True, but it's so hard to get there because, as you know, in this business, we learn by pleasing people. We obey and we don't question. And it's so hard to get from that mindset to an artist's mindset. And I try to do that when I teach, but it's scary for the students. Yeah. But really quickly, can you tell us, I didn't know this pianist, Yi Heng Yang, that's your pianist?
She's the pianist on the Schubert album. Yeah, she's a historical keyboard player. And so she specializes in forte piano. And we recorded on an 1830 Joseph Simon original instrument from 1830.
Wow.
2 years after Schubert died, and it's an incredible instrument. It was a big fucking pain in the ass, I'll tell you that. Very, very, very finicky, that Joseph Simon, but you know, all of it. But as I say in my program notes, the thing about a forte piano is it's not stealthy at all, and you hear all the sounds. You know, you hear the metal, you hear the wood, you hear the creaking, and for me that was exciting. And the piano became like a third interpreter in our album. That I just feel like you have this third thing in the sound world that this third being in the sound world that's just sort of harkened back to the ghosts of the time. And I think
it's living.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a living instrument.
It breathes.
God, yeah, it does breathe. And forte pianos are, I didn't get it at first, but, you know, I played forte piano recits when I did Don Giovanni the last time. And, of course, I play it like a 9-foot Steinway. So I just like,
sure.
But what a beautiful quality it has. And there aren't that many Schubert albums with forte piano that I've seen.
It's true. It's true.
So that is a distinction. Emily, others?
There is one more question for us. It appears that people are speaking to you in your ear sometimes in the video, in the social, what did you call it? So you call it a social activism performance experiment. That's what it was. Thank you. Do you remember any of the kinds of things they said to you?
In that video specifically,
or just in general?
Well, I remember this one lady will never leave me. And this isn't like a great story. So I'll do two stories really quick because I know we're probably running out of time. But one lady took my hand, and I'm pretty sure she was an older lady. This was in Chicago. And she sort of took my hand, and she said, I just want to let you know that whether you stay or are forced to leave this country, that's God's will. And you have to put your faith in God and know that God will take care of you no matter what is in store for you on this planet. And I was like, ooh, let go of my hand. I don't like this. I don't like this. But
you mean
so
like
Zeus? What's that?
You mean like Zeus? I don't know what I would say. Which God? I don't know.
He'll throw his thunderbolts down from Mount Olympus at me. So that was one thing. But I remember there's actually one woman in the video who, as it turns out, a friend of mine knew her. And years later, when I met this friend of mine who then learned about the video, she said, oh my God, this girl is one of my best friends, and she was there. And I remember her saying, I've been watching you for 2 hours and I'm so moved by what you're doing. And thank you for, so I remember that unbeknownst to me that people actually like watched me for a very long time, which was cool and strange all at once, I guess.
It's very moving. My God.
It's one of those things about being a performing artist. It's, you know, sometimes you can see your impact, but a lot of times you just don't know what the effect of what you've done is, and it's really wonderful when it comes back to you.
Well, and that's the thing that I've always said about what we do. Like, the thing that's super important to me is that I believe very strongly in the butterfly effect, and that this idea that like the butterfly flaps its wings and, you know, thousands of miles away the storm starts. And I think that we do that with our art. Like, somebody's having a bad day, they come to the concert hall, we don't know how their lives then change after that, but maybe they go and buy the music, or maybe they just feel better, and that just puts this good stuff in motion into the world. And I'm super into that idea in art making.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, people don't think about that enough, but you know, action causes change, and what causes action but ideas, and ideas can come from art. So depending on who you're singing to, who you're talking to on a certain day, you can change the entire trajectory of their lives if it's the right time. So, and with something that powerful, you could certainly do that.
Yeah.
Well, Emily, thank you for joining us. Thank you. And we're near the ending of this podcast. So, Karim, my God, thank you so much. I wish we had 3 hours, and I wish we could just do shots and keep talking. And then we could do a midnight version, and then a 1 a.m. version, and it would be completely X-rated, and that V-neck would just keep getting deeper and deeper, and we would hear and see all of your secrets. So before we say goodbye, though, do you have any like upcoming projects that you'd like to tell us about?
This time that we're living in is so strange. So I don't know for sure when anything's happening, but I have a couple of super exciting stuff in development, a couple of recording projects, a stage production that I'm developing. And I'm also, David T. Little has written monodrama for me, and Alarm Will Sound, based on Garth Greenwell's novel, What Belongs to You. So Amazing. That's going to be super exciting. And we don't know when it's going to happen, but it's happening. So, were you
at Eastman with the Alarm Will Sound people?
I was at Eastman with Alan and with Garth, actually. Garth was at Eastman. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the connection there.
That was right after my time. Of course, my time was 30 years ago. So good luck with that. Well, listen, everybody check out Karim's recordings. Can you tell us what they're called again?
The first one, the one that won the Grammy, is Songs of Orpheus, and the second one, album. Thank you. And the second one is the Schubert album, Where Only Stars Can Hear Us. And yeah, those are my solo albums. So I encourage.
And then you can check him out at karimsulayman.com as well, and read even more about him, because that bio is pretty long. I didn't know half the stuff in the bio.
We all have resumes.
We do. It's so good to see you, and you're finishing your cocktail just in time. So thank you for being here with me, and I hope we can do this again. But more than that, I hope I can see you in person sometime when things are opening up again.
I do too, very much so.
You're sweet, and I'm so proud of you. I really am.
Thank you. I'm proud of you, Tim.
Well, Karim, you're sweet. That's very nice. I'm too old for anybody to be proud of me anymore, so that's a really nice thing.
I smile with pride for you.
Oh, well, I'll take that with my wine and think about it tonight as I go home. Well, Karim, thank you, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Yes, bye.
Okay,
bye.
Yes. So that's my friend Karim. He's wonderful and very outspoken, and if you guys ever see him performing in your area, please go and see that. So just one quick thing before we end. I want to tell you about this production company that sponsors this podcast, which you can subscribe to. This live stream and podcast are produced by Foundry Arts. Foundry Arts is a lab committed to artists in music and the performing arts by promoting a more diverse, equitable, inclusive, and sustainable cultural landscape in the USA and beyond. You can find out more about our collaborative development projects and programs at Foundry Arts by visiting thefoundryarts.com. And I'm involved with a couple of other projects with them that are just fascinating. One including a theater piece based on the poetry of Thomas Transtromer. It's just incredible and basically written by improvisation. Reminder, please subscribe to our podcast. Our next guest next month is going to be the renowned tenor Vincent Cole. And I first met Vincent in Aspen, but Vincent has had a huge career, and he had as one of his main supporters Herbert von Karajan, one of the giants of the classical music world. So please join us for Vincent. He's a hoot, and you never know what he's going to say. So thank you guys for joining us today. Live long and prosper, Mado, and I'll see you soon. You got your